Hey YouTube, Lawler here. We've got a North American recap for you all today. RLCS 2025. It's our first ever open of the season where we got to finally see our top 16 go down to top 8 and see who ended up lifting the trophy. And unfortunately for a lot of people, there are some things in Rocket League that are inevitable, and one of them is the former G2 roster finding themselves in the grand finals. Just as a quick blanket statement, NRG did win. Congrats to them, even though they had a little bit of a shaky start. But as expected in the playoffs, they were going to make a deep run, and they did exactly that. On the other side of things as well, 10 consecutive grand finals. That is it's just impressive. It is absolutely impressive. The only team that holds a candle to that stat is probably the BDS roster in the open qualifier run that they had, where they were just dominant. So yeah, pretty high praise for the guys. With that said, let's take a look at the results of what actually went down. We're going to start quickly with Swiss. We saw this 2 weekends ago, not this previous weekend, but the weekend before, where it was top 32 down to top 16. We knew the teams going through. We talked in our recap last week, Wednesday, about how Bushels seeding works. If you guys did not see that video, go check that out. It basically tells you why you end up seeing NRG playing Gen G and how the matches work. TLDR or TLDW, because you didn't watch, you were playing the team's strength of schedule. So Gen G checks to see, okay, how well did they do? How well did they do? How well did they do? That is our Bushel score. They play against teams that have a worse Bushel score, so on and so forth. So good stuff there across the board. On the side of things, Gen G versus NRG to start things off. We had Space Station versus Strictly Business, which is the all EU lads. Just as a heads up, I'm now doing team streams for them. So every top 32, if they make Swiss, which because they made top 8, a little bit of spoiler, they will get that automatic bid. Or no, they didn't make top 8. They got to play through open quals. So when they're playing in their matches, not this weekend, but the following weekend, we will do coverage for Strictly Business. They went up against the Space Station team, which we've got a lot to talk about. Omelet versus Gas, Deleted versus Worstel Stand. And then on the other side, Ultimates Tech, Shopify, Pirates, Complexity, Almost Nuts, 9 Lives, and Team Evo. Focusing specifically on Group A, couple things of note. Number one, Space Station. Young kids. We talked about Space Station potentially getting a lot of upside where they knew they were investing in potential. In my statement, I said, you know what? My assumption is that it's going to take a little bit of time to develop. While they have a year under their belt together, a new coach, a mental coach, guaranteed funding, like actual structural support is a big difference for young, impressionable kids. With that said, depending on how much they lean into this full-time coach of Xperi, it may take some time to develop. The added benefit that they do get, and this actually surprised me, is how much they demo. I did not expect Space Station to be that demo heavy. Very, very aggressive on the offensive half, which makes sense considering in today's state of Rocket League, people are too good at recoveries, people have gotten way too good with mechanics, and the only way to open up the net is sustained offense with demos and boost and eye. That should be your primary focus on offense, and they're very effective with it. So congrats to Space Station, a really close game 5 to start. And then they take down NRG, your second best team in the world, objectively based upon results. And then they go up against Deleted. On the other side of the bracket, Omelet went perfect, essentially. They went 3-0 in Swiss, came in, they took down Gas, which was expected. And then up against Deleted, I did not expect this. I did think Deleted had a chance against Worstel Stand. But against Omelet, I thought Omelet was going to be able to take it, and they swept him. And, like, did it pretty dang well. Something to be said about this Deleted team. They are, in my opinion, the epitome of people who are bought in. They have 3 players that understand their role, that are just trying to win. They don't care who gets the credit. They don't care who is the star player. At the end of the day, as long as we're getting wins, that all that matters. Also, I'm going to put it out there. Deleted maybe not be the most professionally ran organization. I say this as someone who consults for them every once in a while. But I do have an appreciation for someone who is willing to give someone a second chance. And I think Prime, their owner, is a prime example of that, where he kind of looks past the initial kind of opinion of some things on the outward facing. And if you don't know what I'm talking about Roldiz. Roldiz did not leave his last organization on a good note and was removed from the coaching scene for quite a while. And Prime basically goes, I like this kid as a person based upon my interactions with him. I think there is a lot of potential still. Let me give him a chance. So far, it's paying off. There is going to be a blanket statement that I make, and this applies to every team. for new teams coming in, new teams that have formed, new teams that are not the same as what they once were. People do not know what to expect when they play against you in competition, because the way you play in scrims is not the way you play on competition days for RLCS. Deleted has that added benefit. Space Station technically doesn't, but does because of the new coach and the new situation they're in. I don't know if that's going to be consistent in the following week. I usually like to be a little bit more reserved on how I feel teams are with rankings and stuff. I need more than just an initial try. Very intrigued on how Space Station's going to look next week, or next open, and Deleted as well. Now that people know what they're getting out of you, they have a chance to assess over 2 weeks, make adjustments. Curious on what it's going to look like. I think that Space Station team, though, is dang good. New generation is definitely alive. Like, the new gen is here. I'm very happy they got results, turning some heads. It's something that definitely needs to be injected into North America. So very, very happy with just this result in general, to not see the same old. Selfishly as a fan, very excited to see that. And despite that, we still got the 2 better teams in the lowers moving on through. Very likely that this is a 5-6 ranked team. This is a 1-2. So good to see that. On to Group B Ultimates, going all the way through until they actually come up against what many are saying a very much so in-form Complexity. You know what you're getting out of Complexity, which is, I think, a very good spot to be opening up. But can Complexity ascend? We know what we're getting out of Complexity, but can they reach those peaks? It is something that they have struggled to do, except for at like the World Championship seasons ago when they were a different team altogether. As for Complexity, I have an expectation of them always being like a potential top 4, but falling short against the top dogs. I think they've got a really, really good floor, but their ceiling isn't much higher than that. At least I haven't seen it. It is really reliant on Razebull and like CRR popping off. Who knows if they can unlock Diaz's potential this season? That's what I'm excited to look for in Complexity. But Complexity, to me, I think will consistently be top 4. But out of the top 3 in my mind right now, which we'll talk about at the end, I do think Complexity is probably the most beatable, ironically enough. On the other side, Ultimate's dropping to them. There's a lot of conversations. I highly recommend checking out Sad Jr.'s Twitter and kind of hearing his thoughts on the perspective of it. But I'm glad to see that a projected team is making the upper guaranteed top 6 type position. I'm still not completely sold on this team. There is a lot of potential. There's a lot of talent. But there's something off. I don't know what it is. I just don't feel as convinced as I do as some of the other results. Again, it's just one result, so we'll take it with a grain of salt. Other side of things, 9 lives. I told you guys a lot about this team, about how I haven't seen anything. I didn't see any offseason results. I barely saw them in scrims. I didn't know what to expect. Glad to see them living up to that potential, because the reality is it's the same Space Station team as last year. The difference is LJ is out and Kofor is in. My only concern with this team so far is that they do seem very heavily reliant on one of their players really peaking, and in this case it has been Kofor, which is a lot of pressure to put on the newest addition. While he's not new to the RLCS, he's been competing for a couple seasons. I do want a more consistent play when all 3 kind of as a rotation are applying that pressure. And when they do that, like when Chicago's really involved on offense, they look really, really good. I think 9 lives is a team that will likely get picked up by the end of the split. But, and I tweeted this out, their match against Deleted was like, to me, a make or break for potential to go to the major. It is basically the decider in my eyes. And I'll talk about how that has come to fruition in the past in a little bit here. Outside of that, very happy for Team Evo. Another full European team. This is the Speed Relating Wave and Arju team. They definitely had some adversity out of the gate, but were able to survive. They went 3-2, I think. Yeah, so they went 3-2, and then immediately to lowers, still able to battle through the lower bracket, and barely holding on. I think this, to me, was a big statement game. The ability to actually take on Pirates on a boat, who I think, you know, a pretty tough fight against Shopify. They put up a decent fight against Ultimates. 5-Up, obviously the one to pay attention to out here. I think Creams and Hockey are a good duo to support him, but I don't know if they'll ever realize that full potential. To me, they are like the epitome of like your 7-8 seed, and are going to continue to be that. They'll fight with like Shopify for that spot. The same with teams like Gas. Like, I think Gas is perfectly capable. If you don't see this type of situation up here, I think Gas definitely has potential to make and go into this round. We'll see. I would not be surprised if Gas makes the top 8 this year. Other than that, I think pretty expected. I think if I was doing power rankings, the only anomaly here is deleted. That's it. But they put up a fight. So upper match from deleted up against complexity. It was closer than what people expected, but deleted just looks a little lost sometimes, where like rotationally they're too passive. They don't press as much as they want to. With that being said, when we did get the repeat match here, that completely changed that narrative. Much better on the offensive pressure. Basically always had an answer when they were scored on. They always found another goal to respond to, which I think is a really good sign for a team. Not only for the mental purposes, but also just in general, when you're able to stay competitive even though you're down, you're not out, which is cool. Going to game 7, I think, is saying a lot. Deleted trying to really solidify themselves as a guaranteed top 8. Benefits of coming into the upper bracket is these teams are all guaranteed top 6. So very important for RLCS points. Space Station Ultimates, I think, was the match outside of the grand finals that really stole the show. I think Space Station, just as a general, kind of stole the narrative. They went through every single big bully they needed to prove that they are here to play, and they have earned the respect. Usually I say, and I did say a little bit ago, I want another regional to prove it. I want another regional to see, now that people know what to expect out of you, will you still have that type of performance? At the end of the day, the team's really good. Space Station has so much talent, and I'm glad they're trying to figure things out. But now that people have an understanding of what you're going to come in with your approach, will that remain consistent? I don't know. I'm excited to find out. But to take down Ultimates, to take down NRG, to then play again 9 lives and look convincing, and then to then go to NRG all the way to game 7 in a very close game 7, by the way. I think you have solidified for me as the number 4 right now. I think Complexity still gets a little bit of a nod, but I think 3-4 right now, Space Station, Complexity, all the credit in the world. I think they played admirably, to say the least. Unfortunately for Team Evo, they looked non-existent in the first few games. I even talked to Speed. Very close games. Not like game 7 itself was close, chat, but like they played a competitive series. Sorry, I worded that very poorly. Like this series was very close. Game 7 itself, yeah, it was a blowout. It was 5-0. But like the series itself was competitive. I worded that terribly. It's a very competitive series, not a competitive game 7. Very competitive 7-game series. Does that sound better? My apologies. But yeah, I talked to Speed a little bit about this one. He's like, yeah, we basically forgot how to play. We were too passive. We didn't want to be aggressive. Once they finally kicked that into gear, they did start playing a bit more competitively. OT and then a 2-0. So too little too late. They basically didn't play for 3 games, and then they had to reverse sweep, and it was too little too late. So it didn't matter. As for 9 Lives Gen G, competitive series. Both of these teams, in my opinion, are fighting for like the 5-6 spot. And as of right now, while Gen G is, in my opinion, actually pretty consistent. You know what you're getting out of Gen G. They're going to put up a fight. They're going to be one of the toughest battles. They're the team that I always want to avoid in quarterfinals. They're the team I want to avoid in Swiss, because I know they're going to be frustrating to play against, and they just, you succumb to their play style. With that said, is they definitely have a peak, and I don't know how much more above that they can go from where they are right now, which is part of the complication I saw during the offseason, as well as last year with LG. They're going to be competitive. Their playstyle deems that. But do I think they have the heights? Do I think they have the peaking capability to really go above and beyond? I just don't see it. I don't see it. With that said, 9 Lives, congratulations to them. This is a very important match. I think if Gen G wins here, they go on as well. Same thing for 9 Lives. With that said, Deleted did put up a pretty good fight. Happy to see that. Glad to see that they show they were competitive, even though basically everyone, including myself, kind of writ them off as like, you're a top 8 at best. Glad to see they got their wins. And even when they were in that round, they didn't just get immediately 4-0'd. They kept it competitive, which is cool. Outside of that, Space Station showed that they are a league ahead. With that in mind, all 1-goal games on those final 3. Also, no timeout called. Surprised by that. Surprised not to see a timeout. Kind of curious on why nothing was called by the 9 Lives team. Or why Fireburner didn't dial one up. Not exactly sure. Maybe they felt like, hey, the games are close. We're just making silly mistakes, and we can clean those up and be fine. But sometimes it's good to just get that like real pause and be like, okay, let's take a break. It's an extra minute. Let's reassess. Let's come back in. So Outside of that, Space Station looked really, really good. We got that grand final, like I said, very close game. 7-game series. Even an OT in there, 1-goal games, the lore. But after that timeout, man, NRG really kicked it into pace. People forget, Space Station was up 3-1 at one point. When I talk about NRG being inevitable, this is what I mean. Like, they had the capability to close this out on numerous occasions and just couldn't do it. Great teams find a way to win. NRG is a great team. They're going to continue to be that team. We even saw it at the World Championship where NRG, when they were G2, didn't look that great, dude. They didn't look that great at the World Championship, but they found a way to win. They found themselves part of the dance. That's all that matters. Yeah, someone put up the stat, which was really cool. After they called their timeout, a 12-1 goal differential. That's domination. Shoutouts to Sathu. Either way, that is what we have for North American recap. As a quick recap, in MENA, the top 2 teams are the top 2 teams. Couple things of note. Number 1, Falcons did bleed. They did lose. It is a real thing. They can be beaten in their own region. The team they lost to is the new Twisted Minds. We were curious on how they were going to perform. Twisted Minds with Atomic, Rise, and Nalpo are competitive. But all things must come to an end, and they do get their revenge. Falcons does win in 7. So, pretty good moments. Yes, glad to see Atomic really finding his own. But I do think you have a 3-team race between Kadsaya. I don't know how to say her name. I apologize. They have proven that they can be competitive too, which is cool. So I think you have your 1, your 2, and your 3. The battle between these 2 is going to be very, very fun if we see it line up. But there is a clear 1-2, and this upper quarterfinals, I think, encapsulates that perfectly. 4-0, 4-0. So very exciting to see. Should be a lot of fun to watch MENA go down. On the other side too with SSA. Whether you love or hate them, whatever it is, Limitless, all the way clean, all the way through. No issues with them. Maestros, which is the all Spanish team with VK Salen, and so on and so forth. Fear bait or like rage baiting people on Twitter when they talk about the stuff from last year. They do end up sweeping 4-0. Take that for what you will. We've got a lot of different teams. The fact that there was a forfeit in the quarterfinals, I think, is insane. But hey, with Riz, you guessed it, it's another import team. So you're going to see a lot of that. You've got SSA, Spain, England, MENA, and SSA. Trifecta's all over the place. Spain, and German. A lot of Spanish players over in SSA. I don't know, man. It kind of leaves me with a bad taste. I feel bad for the SSA region. Will it make them better? We will have to see. But that is what we've got in upcoming videos for you all as well. We are going to be talking about esports decals, the new update, some insight that we have on that. Talking about Major 2. Major 2 has officially been announced, so we'll talk about that as well. And kind of get you guys gearing up for RLCS in the coming weeks. But as always, if you guys enjoy the content, like, subscribe, turn on notifications, join the socials in the description down below as well. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.